Check 1, 2. What's up, guys? I know it's late, but we're trying a different time slot today. Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Stack Bitcoin Show, the late night edition. We're trying a different time slot today. It's 9:10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. What is it? 9, 10, 11. That's 12 Eastern. Dang. If you're up watching, you probably already had dinner, chilling, winding down. And so I already bought the stack for today because I thought I wasn't gonna be able to do the show. But I said, you know what? I'm gonna jump on here and I'm gonna buy another stack live during the stream like we do every Monday through Friday. I think this week we had said that we're only gonna do one episode this week. But I don't know. I had the whole week off last week. I did a Monday episode, then we took the rest of the week off. And I want to keep doing it daily. I still stacked, so that's still current. But the dailies, I miss the dailies, guys. I miss the dailies, even with just a week off. So I think I'm gonna continue to take time off when I need it. But for sure, continue with the Monday through Friday. I am gonna play with the time a little bit though. I am gonna adjust the times. Sorry to sneak up on you today on at 9 on a Monday. But I'm gonna try to see if the time starting the show at different times makes a difference. So maybe the rest of the week, maybe the rest of this week we'll do 9 p.m. the rest of this week. 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 12 Eastern. I know it's a late show. It's a late show for you guys in the East Coast. But I want to see if doing a different time slot has any difference on the reach of the show. Okay, so just experimenting, but it's good. It's a good thing to do. I got to switch some stuff up. Okay, all right. That said, let's get started with the regular show. I'm excited for another stack. Of course, Bitcoin is up a little bit, so that's always exciting. But let's get in it. Let's get cracking, I guess you could say, right? All right, let's jump into the first segment of the show. The Bitcoin strength. All right, based on timechainstats.com. Today, the price of Bitcoin is $88,211.49. Oh, one thing about the late show, doing the shows later, is that the price isn't moving as much. Today, you can buy 1,133 Satoshis for a single dollar. What the heck is a Satoshi? A Satoshi is a fraction of a Bitcoin. Just like a dollar is made up of 100 cents, a Bitcoin is made up of 100 million Satoshis. I almost said 100,000. 100 million Satoshis. Okay? So why is that important? It's important to highlight that on every single episode in case somebody's watching for the first time and doesn't understand what Bitcoin is. They might be intimidated by the $88,000 price tag. But just rest assured to know this, that you don't need to buy a whole Bitcoin all at once. Just like you don't need to save a whole dollar all at once. You can start with the pennies. You can save some pennies here and there, and next thing you know, when you have 100 pennies, you'll have a whole dollar. Same thing with Bitcoin. You can save fractions of a Bitcoin, and those fractions are called Satoshis. We call them sats for short. And eventually, when you get to 100 million Satoshis, you in essence have a whole Bitcoin. So you don't save up to buy a Bitcoin, you save in Bitcoin, okay? The whole premise of the show is that. And we're showing you how to do it here on the show Monday through Friday, mostly at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. But today, for this rest of this week, we're going to be doing 9 p.m. episodes, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard, okay? So that is, what is that? That is the Bitcoin strength. Any questions? Please do ask them in the chat. We are a 100% beginner-friendly show. I have no problems explaining Bitcoin or any aspect of Bitcoin from scratch, specifically for you. If you have a relative that needs to get orange pilled, bring them to the show, time of their name, and what aspect of Bitcoin they're most interested in. I can explain it to them, explain it for them. to the best of my ability. If you have any questions about Bitcoin, if you already know a little bit about Bitcoin but you're confused on one or two things, ask the question. Again, you can always ask it during the live stream if you're subscribed for about 1 minute. And if you're watching the replay, you can leave a comment with your question, and I will go through and answer that question in the following episode. Or if it's a little bit more complicated, I'll develop a whole show around your question to answer it for you as clearly as possible, because it helps me expand my knowledge, and also helps whoever was maybe not feeling brave enough to ask the question, right? When you ask your question, you're not only helping yourself, you're also helping me, and you're also helping the person that was too shy to ask the question. Okay, so sound off in the chat, say hello if you're in here. All right, let's keep it going. Next segment of the show is a segment we like to call Why We Stack. It's a real basic premise, real basic aspect to the show here. I speak about Bitcoin over inspirational music to motivate you, to pump you up, to get started in your research and your study of Bitcoin and what it means and what it can do for you in your future, right? Real basic stuff, right? Right now we're going to go over the basic concept of how the money works and how inflation works and how inflation steals your purchasing power from you, okay? You work for money. In this case, I work for dollars, right? And those dollars, there's a certain amount of dollars that exist in the world. And when that money supply expands, the individual value of each unit of that money system, of each dollar, is worth less. So the purchasing power of that money gets diluted. Just like you can't make more wine by adding water to a half bottle of wine, or by splitting it into another bottle and adding water to it, you can't make more wine, right? The alcoholic value, or the wine to water ratio, right, continues to dilute the potency of that wine, right? So when you add more water to the money supply, when you add more bills, more paper money to the money supply, you're not adding more value. You're dividing the existing value over more pieces of paper. Okay, so of course there's a pizza analogy, which is a pretty easy go-to one, right? If you have a pizza with 8 slices and you slice a pizza into 16 slices, doubling the amount of slices, did you make more pizza? Right? No, you did not make more pizza. You just made each pizza slice less satiating. You just basically made each slice of pizza worth less, because there's less of it. There's half as much. Okay, so same concept applies to expanding the money supply. When money is printed and they add money to the supply, it's basically just making whoever's holding existing money poorer, right? Because, for example, with the pizza analogy, let's say you have let's say you have 2 slices of pizza, which is a quarter of a pizza if it's split up into 8 slices, okay? And your bank account shows that you have 2 slices of pizza, right? Now the pizza gets divided again, and instead of being 8 slices, it's now 16 slices. So your 2 slices of pizza went from being a quarter of the pizza to being 1/8 of the pizza, because in your bank account, it still shows that you have 2 slices of pizza, but the value of those 2 slices of pizza is now equivalent to half of what it used to be before it got divided up again, right? So that is why we stack, guys. We stack to get away from that inflation monster that steals your purchasing power over time. And by just being out of that system, you expand your purchasing power, because as the money supply continues to increase, it takes more and more of that weaker money to buy the same amount of Bitcoin that you already have on the side in self-custody, okay? The long story short, saving in Bitcoin is like traveling back in time and giving yourself a perpetually increasing retroactive raise for the hours you've already worked for, as long as you hold a Bitcoin that represents those hours. I know it's a long statement. It took me a long time to come up with it, to boil it all down, to summarize it down to one 30-second or 20-second elevator pitch, which is that the longer you hold Bitcoin, the more purchasing power that stack of Bitcoin will have. and it's the easiest way to gain wealth. Okay, so we stack. That's why we stack, because holding Bitcoin is the best thing you can save in. Okay, and of course there's other benefits to holding Bitcoin in your custody, of course, like sovereignty and no third party risk. But really, the thing that we focus on here on the show, because it's the most appealing to someone that's new to Bitcoin, is the fact that your savings are growing really fast. Your savings are actually growing, and you're shielding your nest egg, your retirement money or your savings from inflation. Okay, that's a big push for us here on the show. Okay, yes, I know there's a bunch of other benefits to it, but that's just what we focus on here on the show to keep things simple. And yeah, so the key factors that you should go away with here are that you should save in Bitcoin, and number 2, take your Bitcoin into custody, into a wallet you have the keys for, and that's it. Repeat. Okay, all right, let's keep it going. That is we're already halfway through the episode. That's the first 2 segments. Now let's get into the nuts and bolts, where the tire hits the road, where the theory becomes practice, and let's get into it. Stack recap, because we don't only talk about stacking Bitcoin here Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, sometimes 9 p.m. especially this week. We actually stack Bitcoin every day, every weekday, that is. We talk about it, and we are about it. There it is. Our proof of stack, proof of work, proof of the effort that we put into the show since May 22nd, 2023. For the first time in a while, our 2025 stack is actually getting close to being at 0% gains. We were down as far as like 12%, 15% down for the year. But these are the rules of the show here. If the price of Bitcoin is below our average buy price of 91,000 in 2025, then we buy a double stack, which is $40. If the price of Bitcoin is above our average buy price, then we just buy $20 worth. And if the price of Bitcoin is below the lowest purchase we've done in 2025, which is at 76,000, then we do a quadruple stack, which is $80. Okay. So far this year, over half of our purchases have been double stacks, because basically it's been going down for a while, right? But since we've been doing these double and quadruple stacks when the sats are quote unquote cheap, we have a lot of green now on the board from the quadruple and double stacks we've been doing this whole month, and the last month, I guess, pretty much since February, right? Like at 40. Yeah, since February 4th, we've been in the negative. Yeah, and then we've been doing double stacks and quadruple stacks like that. It's crazy. So that's us in the green. That's bringing us up. That's bringing our overall lowering our average buy price for 2025. Anyway, in 2025, oh, you know what? I missed today so far. 18. That's right. Yeah, my last purchase was I see. Even though we didn't do shows every day last week, I still continue to purchase. So for 2025, our current holdings are we saved $3,140 into Bitcoin and accumulated 3.49 million Satoshis. Another way to think about this is to say 0.0349 Bitcoin. Okay, this is the same thing, except for think of it as dollars and cents, Bitcoin and Satoshis. It's all Bitcoin, but it's easier to say 3.49 million Satoshis than it is to say 0.0349291 Bitcoin, right? So it's just easier to say, but it's the same thing. So these are a stack. These are the numbers that should matter. These are the numbers that should count when you think, oh, my Bitcoin is down in terms of dollars. Nah, who cares? You should be thinking about my Bitcoin stack is up. So number go up. The only number that you should care about going up is your stack count, is the amount of Satoshis, the amount of Bitcoin in your cold storage, in your cold wallet. Okay. Anyway, so we've put in about $3,140 this year so far in 2025, and accumulated 3.4 Bitcoin. Sorry, 3.4 million Satoshis. Sorry, 3.4 million Satoshis, and that's currently worth $30,083. We're down about 2% for in 2025 so far. Again, these are not realized losses or gains; these are just unrealized loss. And we'll leave it at that. Okay. In 2024, we saved about $7,345 into Bitcoin and accumulated 12.2 million satoshis, 0.122 Bitcoin, and that stack is currently worth about $10,808. What does this mean? It means that today, if we were to try to buy the same amount of satoshis today, 12.2 million satoshis, 1.22 Bitcoin, it would cost us 40%, 47% more of today's weaker money to buy the same amount of Bitcoin. Okay, so we have a gain of about 47% since 2024. Okay, and we started the show back on May 22nd, 2023. There it is. When the price of Bitcoin was 27,260, we purchased $5 worth of Bitcoin for the show. We've got 18,000 satoshis, 0.00018 Bitcoin, and that stack, that little baby stack, is worth $15.89 right now. So it's about, what is that, 300%? Crazy. All right. So throughout the show, since the beginning, like I said, May 22nd, 2023, Pizza Day, we've saved through the show, and we have recorded videos of all these investments, all these stacks we bought. We've bought about $13,969 worth of Bitcoin and accumulated 26.4 million satoshis, or 0.26 Bitcoin. Those are all the buys we did here live during the show, which is pretty wild. It's been almost 2 years. It'll be 2 years next month. Yeah, it'll be 2 years next month for sure. And so that stack is up about 67%. So we invested, or we saved about $14,000, and that's turned into $23,000 just like that, right? We've also done a lot of other side things to make the savings or gamify the process of, or the motivation to stack harder, right? We've done what's called the reclaimed Bitcoin, which is like me selling stuff out of my garage that I don't use anymore and liberating those stranded energy by turning it into money and then turning that money into Bitcoin. We've had people donate on the show here, which is awesome, and so we're logging that. We're counting that as well. We've done special things like 100 days of saving in Bitcoin, and where we just buy Bitcoin for 100 days straight, regardless of the price, and we've accumulated that much Bitcoin through that process. We have the 21 Moto project. 21 Moto is me riding my Honda Grom, which gets like about 120 miles per gallon. Sorry, per fuel tank. Instead of driving my 8-cylinder Tundra, Toyota Tundra truck, and the savings of riding the Grom as opposed to driving the Tundra is about 21 cents per mile. So whenever we ride the Grom, we take account of the mileage that we added to the Grom, and we buy 21 cents per mile worth of Bitcoin. And the idea with that project is that eventually the savings from the gas of riding the Grom will pay for the Grom itself, in terms because we're taking those savings and buying satoshis with them instead of just pocketing it or putting it into a cash savings account. Okay. Then we have the side hustle. These are just different things that I do on the side, like thrift or believe it or not, I even did what's called like a MC, where like I go to events and I get hired to be the guy talking during the event to like guide the crowd into doing something or just announcing stuff for a party. It's pretty weird, but hey, it's a side hustle, right? And it's money that goes towards stacking. Okay, so these are little side hustle earnings, and all of that combined adds up to the show holdings, and the show holdings right now are 0.36 Bitcoin. So 0.36 Bitcoin is pretty awesome. The current value in dollars of our stack for the show is about $31,811. That's pretty sick, huh? It's pretty sick. So I'm super proud of that, excited. And the ultimate goal of this show is, I don't know if I almost feel bad saying it because I'm not sure if we'll be able to complete this goal, but the ultimate goal would be for us to get to 1 Bitcoin here on the show, and then this channel would be like the documented process of getting to 1 Bitcoin from zero, because we started from zero. May 22nd, 2023, we started with 18,000 sats. And before that, the show technically had zero, right? Anyway, that is the stack recap in-depth long version. But I want to share this too. If you're new to Bitcoin and you're trying to figure out what the heck's going on, why is it so important to save in Bitcoin? This is why it's so important to save in Bitcoin, especially here, right? Let me just explain this one real quick, and then we'll move on to our actual purchase of Bitcoin today. So, on January 1st, 2023, the average mortgage in the USA is $2,500. Okay, and you can also say the average rent, but we're gonna go with mortgage. Okay, on January 1st, 2023, if you took $2,500 and you stacked it, right, you would have gotten 15.2 million satoshis for that. Okay, so if you had $5,000 budget and you had the option to pay $2,500, an extra $2,500 on your mortgage, and basically send double payments to your mortgage to try to get your principal down, that would be one of your options. Option number 2 is to pay your minimum mortgage payment, and then take the rest of that $2,500, take the rest of that $5,000, which is $2,500, and buy Bitcoin with it. You would have had 15.2 million satoshis sitting on the side on that first month. On that second month, you do the same thing. So February 2023, you do the same thing. You would have another 15 million satoshis right here, right? And so what is that? Why is that important? Well, because back then, $2,500 is what you had to pay for your mortgage payment. And today, you still have to pay $2,500 for your mortgage payment, right? In terms of dollars, because it's dollar denominated debt. But the value that you set aside back then into Bitcoin is now worth a lot more than $2,500, right? So 15.2 million satoshis is worth a lot more than $2,500. Sorry, than $2,500. So basically, your rent, your mortgage went from 15.2 million satoshis to 2.8 million satoshis. Your mortgage came down 81% over 2 years since you got it. So now the extra stack that you did when you didn't do a double payment on your mortgage is now going to cover about 5 or 6 months of mortgage. So if you did that for 2 months in a row, those 2 years would be 13 million satoshis. And those 13 million satoshis would cover you for basically a year's worth of mortgage, right? In those 2 months that you saved Bitcoin on the side. It's pretty crazy. Derry Duke in the house. Round of applause from the live studio audience for Derry Duke. Hey, good to see you in here. I hope you are doing well. I know it's a late episode. I got stuck doing stuff during the day, and I thought, you know what? Let's just do a late night episode. Maybe we're gonna do later today, this week. Maybe we'll try a bunch of different times and see what the reaction is like. But yeah, very cool. Hope everything is well with you. So yeah, so basically what I'm trying to get at here, guys, is the longer you hold Bitcoin, the cheaper things get, right? And if the mortgage example is a little bit too much, here's a simple one with the burrito. On was it October 3rd, 2023, my burrito cost me $13.70. At that time, it would cost me 49,603 satoshis to buy that. 0.049 Bitcoin. Today, the burrito still costs $13.70, but in terms of Bitcoin, it's 68% off since October 2023, because it's only costing me now 15,000 satoshis instead of 49,000 satoshis, right? 0.015 Bitcoin instead of 0.049 Bitcoin. So that's freaking cool, right? So you take and it hasn't been that long. I haven't even gone through a full cycle. I haven't even gone through a 4-year cycle, right? But the more you can save into Bitcoin, the easier life gets, because things get cheaper in terms of Bitcoin. Whereas if you save in dollars, the opposite happens. things become more expensive and you have to work harder and harder to just maintain your same lifestyle, right? To just maintain your current lifestyle, you have to work harder and harder, and you'll never be able to keep up. So you have to get a second job. You have to get a second job and an Uber on the side, and just to maintain the current lifestyle that you have, because you're not getting a raise at 10% year over year, are you? And you need that to beat inflation at this point. Anyway, we know that was a super long stack recap. We know how much Bitcoin we're going to buy today because the price of Bitcoin is above our average buy price. Sorry, below our average buy price, but not as lowest. So today we're doing a $40 stack. A $40 Bitcoin stack right now during the show. So let's get that queued up. It's time to stack some Bitcoin. All right, so since we are so I bring up the Strike app, I hit buy, and we key in $40. $40 worth of Bitcoin today, buying it on the Stack Bitcoin show, the late edition to the show. Okay, there it is. It's ready to go. I'm gonna stop the music, start the drum roll, hit confirm. Buying $40 worth of Bitcoin right now for the Stack Bitcoin show. Making our way to one whole Bitcoin eventually. And just like that, what should we buy? How much Bitcoin do we get? We accumulated an additional 44,826 Satoshis to the stack. We update our spreadsheet with today's buy right here. Oh, it's 421 today, guys. It's a lucky Bitcoin number. The price of Bitcoin we deserve today is $88,386.20. We purchased $40 worth of Bitcoin, and that gave us 44826 Bitcoin. So 44,826 Bitcoin. And so now that means slow and steady. Okay, in 2025, we have $3,180 saved so far. I'm going to add that data to our spreadsheet for all the buys we've done on the show. It's crazy. The crazy part is we have almost an episode for each one of these buys. Sometimes I'll be like on vacation and I'll just buy and update the sheet, but for the most part, most of these buys have a full episode where we actually bought the Bitcoin. What up, everybody? Welcome to the stream. Hope you guys are having a good evening. There it is. The new stack total for the show is 0.36109249. On our way to one Bitcoin, hopefully. We're trying to get to one Bitcoin here on the show so that we can have a document the whole process of getting to one Bitcoin. That's crazy. I know. DCA, baby. DCA all the way. All right. And that pretty much. Whoa. What happened here? Oh, did I freeze? Dang, I froze. No. I did freeze. I'm back. Sorry, I froze there, guys. I had to switch over to a different screen, and the screen freaked out. But that is what we do here. If you enjoyed the show, consider subscribing. Help us get to 500 subs so we can enable monetization on this channel and start making some revenue that'll help us get to one Bitcoin faster than me just inputting my own cash. Yeah, it's a crazy time to be in Bitcoin, but it's also good. It's good. It's crazy in a good way. Crazy good. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode of the Stack Bitcoin Show. We'll be back here tomorrow at 9 p.m. Tomorrow, 9 p.m. Same time. We're doing 9 p.m. all week. Okay? So I'll see you then. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 9 p.m. But until then, remember, if you ain't stacking, you're slacking. Later, guys.